The challenge. In the vastness of space, a powerful alien empire known as the Xorvans made their way toward Earth. The Xorvans were feared across the galaxy for their advanced technology and ruthless tactics. They had conquered many worlds and believed themselves to be invincible. When their scouts reported back that Earth was their next target, the Xorvans were confident. They thought humans were nothing more than an insignificant species, easy to defeat. The Xorvans had watched Earth from afar for years, observing the planet's progress. They saw humans as primitive and unworthy of serious consideration. They were amused by the idea of fighting a species with such limited technology. The Xorvans were used to facing well-developed civilizations and had crushed many of them without much effort. Earth, with its relatively primitive defenses, seemed like a mere stepping stone to them. As the Xorvan fleet approached Earth, their leader, Supreme Commander Varnak, gathered his top generals. "Prepare the fleet for immediate engagement," Varnak commanded. "We will demonstrate the power of the Xorvans and show these humans what happens when they challenge us." His voice was filled with arrogance and disdain. He had no doubt that the invasion would be swift and successful. On Earth, the news of the approaching alien fleet sent shockwaves through every government and military command center. The human leaders and military officials were alarmed but also determined. They had always known that one day they might face a threat from beyond their planet, but they had hoped to be better prepared when that time came. General Sarah Mitchell, one of Earth's top military leaders, was tasked with organizing the defense. She looked at the radar screens filled with blips indicating the alien ships closing in. "We need to act fast," she said to her team. "We don't know the full extent of their capabilities, but we can't just sit here and wait to be attacked." The human military mobilized quickly, deploying fighter jets, battleships, and ground troops. There was a sense of urgency and determination among the soldiers and officers. They were not about to let their home world be overrun without a fight. Despite their relatively modest technology compared to the Xorvans, they were resolute and ready to defend their planet. As the Xorvan fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, they began their assault. The aliens unleashed powerful weapons that tore through human defenses. Cities were hit hard, and the initial response from Earth was chaotic. Many were unsure how to handle such advanced technology and overwhelming force. However, the Xorvans underestimated human resilience. While the initial attack caused widespread panic and destruction, it also sparked a fierce determination among Earth's defenders. Humans rallied together, using their ingenuity and resourcefulness to counter the alien onslaught. They might not have had the same level of technology as the Xorvans, but they had something equally powerful: their spirit and creativity. The aliens were surprised to see humans fighting back with such courage and skill. The Xorvans had expected an easy victory, but instead they faced a determined resistance. Earth's military leaders, despite being outgunned, used clever tactics and strategies to challenge the alien invaders. They adapted quickly to the new threat and found ways to disrupt the Xorvans' plans. As the days passed, the battles continued, and the Xorvans began to realize that their initial assumptions about humanity were wrong. The humans, once seen as weak and insignificant, were proving to be a formidable opponent. The Xorvans faced unexpected challenges and losses, which only fueled their frustration and determination to end the conflict quickly. The stage was set for an epic struggle between two very different species. The Xorvans had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, but they were about to discover that humans were not to be underestimated. The challenge had begun, and the outcome was far from certain. This introduction sets the stage for the unfolding conflict, highlighting the Xorvans' arrogance and the determination of humans to defend their world against a seemingly unstoppable enemy. First encounter. The Xorvan fleet, a massive armada of sleek and menacing ships, loomed over Earth's atmosphere like a dark storm cloud. Each ship was equipped with powerful weapons and advanced technology, designed to overwhelm and conquer. As the Xorvans prepared to launch their assault, their leader, Supreme Commander Varnak, watched from his command vessel. His face was a mask of cold confidence. "Prepare to initiate the attack," Varnek ordered. "Show these humans the true power of the Xorvans." On Earth, the first signs of the alien invasion appeared as bright flashes in the sky. People looked up in awe and fear as the alien ships began their descent. The sight was unlike anything they had ever seen. Massive vessels with dark, imposing shapes moving silently through the sky. The air was filled with a mix of panic and urgency as governments and military forces scrambled to respond. General Sarah Mitchell stood in her command center, her eyes fixed on the large display screens showing the alien ships. She knew the situation was critical. "All units, prepare for immediate action," she ordered. "We need to get our defenses up and running as fast as possible." The human military quickly sprang into action. Fighter jets roared into the sky, their engines blazing as they approached the alien fleet. Ground troops and tanks were mobilized, ready to protect key locations from the expected ground invasion. The coordination was frantic but efficient. Every available resource was being put to use to defend Earth from this unprecedented threat. The first shots were fired as the alien ships unleashed their devastating weaponry. Bright beams of energy sliced through the atmosphere, striking cities and military installations with terrifying precision. The impact was immediate and destructive. Buildings crumbled, fires erupted, and the sky was filled with the smoke of devastation. The aliens showed no mercy as they continued their bombardment, intent on crushing any resistance. Despite the overwhelming force of the Xorvans, humans fought back with determination. The fighter jets engaged the alien ships in high-speed dogfights, their pilots skillfully maneuvering to avoid the alien lasers and missiles. Anti-aircraft batteries fired up, sending waves of projectiles toward the enemy ships. On the ground, soldiers and tanks took up defensive positions, aiming to hold off any potential ground invasion. General Mitchell watched the chaos unfold, her mind racing with strategies and decisions. "We need to counter their assault," she said to her staff. "Find their weak points and hit back hard. We can't let them break through our defenses." As the battle raged, the aliens began to realize that their initial attack was not as effective as they had hoped. The humans, while outgunned and outnumbered, were proving to be a resilient and resourceful enemy. The alien forces faced unexpected resistance and setbacks. Human fighters, despite their inferior technology, managed to damage several alien ships and disrupt their attack plans. The Xorvans were taken aback by the humans' ability to adapt and fight back. Supreme Commander Varnek, watching from his command vessel, frowned in frustration. "These humans are proving to be more troublesome than anticipated," he growled. "Increase the intensity of the attack and ensure that our objectives are met." In response, the aliens escalated their assault, deploying additional forces and increasing the firepower directed at Earth. The sky was filled with bright flashes and explosions as the battle intensified. Humans continued to hold their ground, using every tactic and piece of technology at their disposal to repel the invaders. The first encounter between Earth and the Xorvans was a clash of sheer will and determination. The aliens had expected an easy victory, but they found themselves facing a determined and resourceful opponent. The battle was far from over, and both sides were learning from each other's tactics and strengths. As the sun set on the first day of the invasion, the skies above Earth were still lit with the fiery remnants of battle. The city streets were in chaos, but amid the destruction, there was also a glimmer of hope. Humanity had shown that it was not going to be easily defeated, and the fight for Earth was just beginning. Unexpected resistance. As the alien assault continued, the Xorvans expected their superior technology to quickly break down human defenses. The alien ships hovered over major cities, firing powerful energy beams that tore through buildings and caused widespread panic. The initial phase of their attack had seemed almost effortless, and the Xorvans anticipated a swift victory. However, they were about to encounter a resistance they hadn't prepared for. In the command center, General Sarah Mitchell and her team worked tirelessly to manage the chaotic situation. Despite the destruction around them, she remained focused and determined. Our defense systems are holding, but we need to up our game, she said, her voice steady. Let's find out how we can turn the tables. In the skies, the human fighter jets continued to engage the alien ships. The pilots, though outnumbered and outgunned, flew with remarkable skill and bravery. They used every trick they knew to evade the Xorvans' lasers and missiles. Pilot James Carter, flying one of the most advanced human fighters, executed a daring maneuver, narrowly avoiding an alien energy beam. He fired back, scoring a direct hit on an alien fighter. "Looks like we're giving them a run for their money," Carter said, grinning through his helmet. On the ground, soldiers and civilians alike were working together to defend their cities. In New York, Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez and her squad held a barricade against advancing alien forces. They fired their weapons, using the urban landscape to their advantage. "We've got to hold this line," Rodriguez shouted, her voice cutting through the noise of battle. The aliens had underestimated the determination of the people they were fighting. The humans fought with a fierceness born of desperation and hope. Back at the command center, General Mitchell's team had discovered something crucial. The Xorvans' advanced technology was indeed powerful, but it also had vulnerabilities. The human engineers had found that the alien energy shields could be disrupted by a specific frequency of electromagnetic pulses. If we can deploy these pulses in the right locations, we might be able to penetrate their shields and cause significant damage, one of the engineers explained. Mitchell gave the order to implement the plan. Teams of engineers and soldiers worked quickly to set up devices that emitted the electromagnetic pulses. As the devices powered up and began to broadcast the pulses, the effects were immediately noticeable. Alien shields flickered and weakened, allowing human weapons to penetrate their defenses more effectively. The Xorvans, initially taken aback by the unexpected resistance, started to face significant setbacks. Their advanced technology, which they had relied on so heavily, was now being exploited by the very species they had underestimated. Supreme Commander Varnek, watching from his command vessel, grew increasingly frustrated. "These humans are proving to be more resourceful than anticipated," he growled. "Reassess our strategies and deploy additional forces to handle these new tactics." As the battle continued, the tide began to turn. The Xorvans, who had expected an easy conquest, now found themselves struggling to maintain their advantage. Human fighter jets, equipped with new targeting systems, took down more alien ships. Ground forces, emboldened by their success, pushed back against the invading forces, reclaiming some of the lost territory. In the midst of the chaos, the humans began to adapt their tactics further. They used guerrilla warfare techniques, striking at alien supply lines and command centers. These attacks, though small in scale, were disruptive and effective. The Xorvans struggled to keep up with the ever-changing tactics of their opponents. The unexpected resistance from humanity forced the Xorvans to rethink their approach. The initial overconfidence of the alien forces began to wane as they encountered a level of resistance they had not anticipated. Earth, once seen as an easy target, was proving to be a more challenging adversary. As night fell over the battlegrounds, the Xorvans faced a reality they had not expected. Humanity, far from being an easy conquest, was showing a remarkable ability to fight back and adapt. The struggle was far from over, and the Xorvans were learning that their victory was not as assured as they had thought. This part of the story highlights the surprising strength and adaptability of humanity in the face of an overwhelming alien threat, showcasing the unexpected resistance that turns the tide of battle. Showing human strength. As the battle between Earth and the Xorvans continued, the invaders faced a new reality. Humans were not just surviving, but also showing remarkable strength and resilience. The aliens, who had initially expected a quick victory, were now confronted with the full force of human determination and ingenuity. In the heart of the conflict, General Sarah Mitchell's command center had become a hub of intense activity. Her team had successfully exploited the Xorvans' technology vulnerabilities, but they needed to press their advantage. "We've shown them our strength," Mitchell said to her staff, "but we need to keep the pressure on. Let's see what else we can do. The human forces were adapting and innovating at an incredible pace. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock to develop new strategies and technologies to counter the Xorvans. One of their breakthroughs was the creation of advanced electromagnetic pulse (EMP) weapons. These weapons could disable alien systems temporarily, giving human forces a crucial edge. In the midst of the battle, the EMP weapons were deployed. As the pulses hit their targets, alien ships experienced temporary system failures. Human fighter jets took advantage of this opportunity, scoring direct hits on previously impervious alien vessels. The tide of the air battle began to shift as the Xorvans struggled to regain control of their ships. On the ground, humans used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. In the ruined streets of Chicago, Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez led her squad through a series of hit-and-run attacks. The soldiers used guerrilla tactics to strike at alien supply lines and communication hubs. These attacks, while small-scale, had a significant impact on the Xorvans' ability to coordinate their efforts. "Keep moving. Don't let them regroup," Rodriguez shouted to her team. Her squad moved swiftly and silently, using every piece of cover available. Their ability to adapt and utilize their environment effectively frustrated the alien forces and made it clear that Earth was far from an easy target. Meanwhile, in a remote military base, scientists and engineers were working on another critical project: improving human defenses. They developed a new type of energy shield that could withstand alien attacks better than anything previously available. The shields were quickly deployed to key defensive positions, providing crucial protection for human forces as they fought back against the alien invaders. The upgraded defenses allowed humans to hold their ground more effectively. The alien forces, accustomed to breaking through human defenses with ease, found themselves struggling to penetrate the new shields. The combination of improved technology and determined fighting spirit began to turn the tide of the conflict. The Xorvans, realizing that their initial plans were failing, began to reassess their approach. Supreme Commander Varnak watched with growing concern as his forces faced increasing difficulties. "These humans are proving to be formidable opponents," he said to his generals. "We underestimated them, and now we are paying the price. We need to adapt our strategies quickly." As the Xorvans adjusted their tactics, humans continued to demonstrate their strength. Resistance groups and local militias joined the fight, contributing their own innovations and strategies. The sense of unity and purpose among humans was palpable, and it became clear that Earth was not going to fall easily. The humans' ability to adapt, innovate, and fight back was becoming legendary. Stories of bravery and clever tactics spread among the defenders, inspiring others to join the fight. Each small victory boosted morale and showed that humanity was not just surviving but thriving under pressure. In the face of overwhelming odds, the humans had shown their true strength. They had turned a seemingly hopeless situation into a fierce battle for survival. The Xorvans, who had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, now faced a determined and resilient opponent. The conflict was far from over, but the strength and resourcefulness of humanity had already begun to shift the balance in their favor, turning the tide. As the conflict between Earth and the Xorvans raged on, a new chapter in the battle was beginning to unfold. The initial shock of the alien invasion had given way to a determined human resistance. With each passing day, humans had grown more adept at countering the advanced technology of their extraterrestrial foes. Now, the moment had come for a decisive shift in the balance of power. In the command center, General Sarah Mitchell and her team had been working tirelessly to turn the tide of the war. The success of the electromagnetic pulse, EMP weapons, and the upgraded energy shields had given humanity a fighting chance, but it was time for a more strategic approach. "We've made progress," Mitchell said, addressing her team, "but it's time to take the fight to them. We need a bold plan to push them back." The human forces prepared for a major offensive. Intelligence gathered from recent skirmishes had revealed a key weakness in the Xorvans' operations. Their command and control ships were crucial to their coordination, and if they could be targeted effectively, the alien forces might falter. The plan was to launch a coordinated strike on these command ships, disrupting the Xorvans' ability to manage their forces. As the offensive began, human fighters and bombers soared into the sky, heading towards the alien command ships. The Xorvans, still reeling from recent setbacks, struggled to mount a coordinated defense. The human pilots, flying with precision and determination, engaged the alien ships in fierce dogfights. Each successful attack on a command ship was a significant blow to the Xorvans' ability to organize their forces. One of the key moments in the offensive came when pilot James Carter, now a seasoned veteran, led a squadron on a daring mission to penetrate the heart of the alien fleet. Carter and his team navigated through intense enemy fire, their jets weaving and dodging as they approached the heavily guarded command ships. "Stay sharp and stick to the plan," Carter instructed his fellow pilots. "We need to hit them hard and fast." The squadron's attack was met with fierce resistance, but the precision of their strikes paid off. Several command ships were heavily damaged, and one was destroyed outright. The loss of these critical ships caused chaos among the Xorvans, disrupting their ability to communicate and coordinate their attacks. The alien forces, once so confident in their superiority, now faced confusion and disarray. On the ground, the human forces seized the opportunity presented by the disruption. General Mitchell coordinated a series of ground defenses, targeting key alien positions and supply lines. The human soldiers, emboldened by their recent successes, pushed forward with renewed vigor. The guerrilla tactics that had been so effective earlier were now complemented by a more coordinated and aggressive approach. In New York, Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez and her squad led an assault on a major alien stronghold. "We're making progress, but we need to keep the pressure on," Rodriguez said to her team. "Let's give it everything we've got." The squad's relentless assault, combined with the impact of the recent airstrikes, forced the aliens to retreat from several key locations. As the days went by, the cumulative effect of the human offensives began to show. The Xorvans, once so confident in their victory, were now on the defensive. Their forces were stretched thin, and their command structure was in disarray. Supreme Commander Varnak, watching the unfolding events, realized that the situation was slipping out of his control. "We have underestimated these humans," he admitted to his officers. "We need to regroup and reassess our strategy." The tide of the battle had clearly turned. The Xorvans, who had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, were now facing a determined and well-organized resistance. Humanity's ability to adapt, innovate, and fight back had proven to be a formidable challenge. The aliens' confidence was waning, and the balance of power had shifted in favor of Earth. The turning point in the conflict marked a significant victory for humanity. The once imperial alien forces were now forced to retreat and reconsider their approach. The human resolve and resourcefulness had turned the tide of the war, and the path to victory seemed within reach. As the Xorvans struggled to regain their footing, the people of Earth stood united, ready to continue their fight and protect their home. Alien frustration. The once unshakable confidence of the Xorvans was starting to crumble. Supreme Commander Varnak, who had been certain of a swift and easy victory over Earth, now faced an escalating crisis. The unexpected resistance from humanity was taking a toll on the alien forces, and frustration was growing among their ranks. In the command vessel, Varnak paced back and forth, his face twisted with frustration. The large view screen before him displayed the chaotic scenes of battle. Alien ships in disarray, human fighters attacking with renewed vigor, and ground forces pushing back against their advances. How did this happen? Varnak roared, slamming his fist onto the control panel. "We should have crushed them by now." His officers, equally dismayed, scrambled to provide answers. "Supreme Commander, the humans have proven to be more resilient than we anticipated," one of his top generals reported. "Their recent attacks on our command ships have severely disrupted our operations. We are struggling to coordinate our forces effectively." Varnak's frustration was palpable. He had underestimated the humans, believing their technological inferiority would make them easy to defeat. Instead, their unexpected strategies and determination had turned the battle in their favor. The alien commander's usual calm demeanor had been replaced by a growing sense of anger and disbelief. "We need to regain control," Varnax snapped. "Reinforce our positions and increase the intensity of our assaults. We cannot let these humans push us back any further." His orders were delivered with a sense of urgency, but the frustration in his voice revealed his growing doubts. As the Xorvans attempted to implement Varnax's new directives, their efforts were met with continued resistance. The human forces, buoyed by their recent successes, were more determined than ever. They pressed their advantage, launching coordinated strikes against key alien positions and disrupting supply lines. On the battlefield, the impact of the Xorvans' frustration was evident. Their attacks became more erratic and less effective, as their forces struggled to adapt to the changing circumstances. The once formidable alien offensive was now being met with a resolute and well-organized defense. The Xorvans' inability to regain their footing only fueled their sense of desperation. General Sarah Mitchell, observing the shifting dynamics of the conflict, felt a renewed sense of determination. "We've turned the tide, but we need to stay focused," she said to her team. "The aliens are getting frustrated, and that works to our advantage. Let's keep pressing and make sure we capitalize on their mistakes." Human fighters continued to engage the alien ships with precision, exploiting the weaknesses that had emerged from the disrupted command structure. The ground forces, now more confident and aggressive, pushed back against the alien invaders, reclaiming territory and fortifying their defenses. In the command vessel, Varnax's frustration reached a boiling point. The once proud commander, who had been certain of his victory, was now faced with the harsh reality of a prolonged and challenging conflict. "These humans are proving to be more than a nuisance," he admitted to his generals. "Their adaptability and resilience are unprecedented. We must reconsider our strategy and find a way to overcome them." The alien forces, struggling to adapt to the shifting balance of power, began to experience internal conflicts. Lower-ranking officers and soldiers, disheartened by their failures, questioned their leadership. The morale of the Xorvans was deteriorating, and the once unified front was starting to fracture. The sense of frustration among the Xorvans was not limited to their command structure. The rank-and-file soldiers and pilots, who had initially approached the invasion with confidence, were now facing the harsh reality of a determined and resourceful enemy. The emotional toll of the prolonged conflict was evident in their increasingly erratic behavior and declining performance. As the days passed, the frustration of the Xorvans only seemed to grow. Their attempts to reassert control were met with continued resistance and setbacks. The humans, far from being the easy target they had anticipated, had proven to be a formidable adversary. The alien forces faced a new challenge, overcoming their own frustration while dealing with the relentless determination of Earth's defenders. Human counterattack. After weeks of relentless fighting, the tide of the battle had clearly turned. The Xorvans, once confident in their superiority, were now reeling from the unexpected strength of the human resistance. The time had come for the humans to launch a decisive counterattack, and they were ready to seize the opportunity. In the command center, General Sarah Mitchell gathered her top officers to discuss their next move. The mood was a mix of cautious optimism and focused determination. "We've managed to turn the tide," Mitchell began, "but we need to push our advantage. Our goal now is to strike back hard and drive the Xorvans from our planet." Mitchell's plan was clear: coordinate a multi-pronged assault that would target the Xorvans' weakened positions. The plan involved simultaneous attacks on key alien supply depots, communication hubs, and command ships. The aim was to further disrupt the Xorvans' operations and force them into a defensive posture. The first phase of the counterattack began with a series of airstrikes. Human fighter jets, equipped with the latest upgrades and guided by newly introduced targeting systems, soared into the skies. The pilots, well aware of the stakes, approached their targets with precision and skill. Remember, We need to hit them where it hurts. Pilot James Carter instructed his squadron. Stay sharp and follow the plan. The human jets engaged the Xorvan ships in a series of intense dogfights. The upgraded EMP weapons, which had proven effective in previous encounters, were deployed once again. The pulses caused alien shields to flicker and fail, making it easier for human fighters to target vital components. The Xorvans, still reeling from their recent setbacks, struggled to mount an effective defense against the onslaught. Meanwhile, on the ground, the coordinated attacks were taking shape. Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez and her squad were tasked with infiltrating and disabling a major Xorvan supply depot. The mission required stealth and precision. "We need to take out their supplies and create chaos," Rodriguez said to her team. "Stick to the plan and move quickly." The squad moved through the ruins of the city, avoiding alien patrols and making their way to the depot. Once there, they planted explosive charges at key locations. The resulting explosions were spectacular, creating a massive fireball that sent shockwaves through the Xorvan ranks. The loss of supplies and resources further strained the already beleaguered alien forces. The communication hubs targeted by human forces were equally crucial. Engineers and special operations teams had worked tirelessly to develop new jamming technologies that would disrupt Xorvan communications. As the jammers were activated, the aliens experienced severe disruptions in their ability to coordinate their actions. Messages were garbled, and command directives were delayed or lost. The chaos within the Xorvan ranks became apparent as their movements became increasingly disorganized. With the Xorvan's command structure in disarray and their supply lines compromised, the final phase of the counterattack commenced. Human ground forces, bolstered by recent successes and fresh reinforcements, launched a full-scale assault on the remaining alien positions. The ground offensive was relentless, pushing the Xorvans back and reclaiming territory that had been lost earlier in the conflict. The Xorvans, now on the defensive, struggled to respond effectively. Supreme Commander Varnak, watching the unfolding chaos from his command vessel, was filled with frustration and disbelief. "How did we let this happen?" he demanded of his officers. "We need to regroup and find a way to counter these humans." The mounting pressure on the Xorvans became evident as they were forced to withdraw from several key positions. The human counterattack had achieved its objectives, further weakening the alien forces and boosting the morale of Earth's defenders. The Xorvans' initial confidence had been replaced by a growing sense of uncertainty and desperation. In the wake of the counterattack, General Mitchell and her team assessed the results. "We've made significant progress," she said, reviewing the reports and data. "But we need to stay vigilant. The Xorvans are still a formidable enemy, and we can't afford to let up." The human counterattack had turned the tide of the conflict decisively in favor of Earth. The aliens, who had once seemed invincible, were now struggling to regain their footing. The strength and resilience of humanity had proven to be a formidable challenge, and the fight for Earth was far from over. Final battle. The final battle had arrived, and the atmosphere was electric with tension. After months of fierce conflict, the struggle between humanity and the Xorvans was reaching its climax. Both sides were preparing for what would be the decisive confrontation. For General Sarah Mitchell and her team, this was the moment they had been fighting for. In the command center, Mitchell stood before a large holographic display showing the battlefield. The image was filled with Xorvan ships and human forces arrayed for the final assault. Her team had worked tirelessly to prepare for this day, and now it was time to execute their plan. "This is it," Mitchell said, her voice steady but intense. "We've come a long way, and now we need to finish this. We hit them hard, and we don't stop until we've secured victory." The human forces, emboldened by their recent successes and the determination to protect their home, were ready. Fighter jets, bombers, and ground troops were all set for the largest offensive of the war. The plan was to launch a simultaneous attack on the Xorvan fleet and their remaining strongholds. This was not just a battle for territory, but a fight for survival. As the battle commenced, the skies erupted with the sounds of combat. Human fighter jets, equipped with the latest technology and armed with powerful weapons, soared into action. They engaged the Xorvan fleet in a series of intense dogfights. The air was filled with streaks of light from laser blasts and explosions as the two sides clashed in a high-stakes aerial battle. In the heart of the conflict, pilot James Carter led a squadron on a critical mission. Their objective was to penetrate the core of the Xorvan fleet and take out key command ships. "Stay focused," Carter commanded his team. "We've got one shot at this. Let's make it count." The squadron made their way through the chaos, dodging enemy fire and targeting the most vulnerable points on the Xorvan ships. The EMP weapons, which had been so effective in previous encounters, were used once again to disable enemy systems. The Xorvan's once impenetrable defenses began to falter under the relentless assault of the human pilots. On the ground, the human forces launched their assault with equal determination. Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez and her squad were at the forefront of the offensive. Their mission was to push through Xorvan defenses and capture critical positions. "We've got to push forward," Rodriguez said to her team. "This is our chance to end this. Let's show them what we're made of." The ground battle was fierce, with human soldiers using every advantage they had gained throughout the conflict. They fought with a combination of guerrilla tactics and direct assaults, taking advantage of their knowledge of the terrain and the improved technology at their disposal. The Xorvans, already weakened and demoralized, struggled to hold their ground as the human forces pressed the attack. In space, the human fleet faced the final push against the Xorvan ships. The intense aerial combat continued, with human fighters pressing their advantage and taking down Xorvan vessels one by one. The command ships, which had once been a symbol of Xorvan power, were now targeted with relentless precision. Each hit brought humanity one step closer to victory. Supreme Commander Varnak, observing the unfolding battle from his command vessel, was filled with a sense of desperation. The Xorvan's losses were mounting, and their once formidable fleet was being dismantled. "We cannot afford to lose this battle," Varnak growled to his officers. "We need to regroup and find a way to turn this around." Despite Varnak's efforts to rally his forces, the human assault continued to gain momentum. The combination of coordinated air and ground attacks had taken a severe toll on the Xorvans. The aliens, struggling to mount an effective defense, began to retreat from their positions. As the final moments of the battle approached, it became clear that victory was within reach. The remaining Xorvan forces, overwhelmed and outnumbered, were forced to surrender or flee. The human forces, exhausted but triumphant, stood victorious. General Mitchell, surveying the battlefield, felt a profound sense of relief and accomplishment. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with pride. "We fought hard, and we've secured our home." The final battle had been a decisive victory for humanity. The Xorvans, who had once seemed invincible, had been defeated. The conflict was over, and Earth had been saved from the brink of destruction. The strength, resilience, and unity of humanity had proven to be a formidable force, and the victory was a testament to their indomitable spirit. Aftermath. A new beginning. The war was over. The final battle had been fought, and the Xorvans had been decisively defeated. As the dust settled and the echoes of conflict faded, Earth was left to grapple with the aftermath of the intense struggle. It was a time for reflection, rebuilding, and looking forward to a new beginning. In the command center, General Sarah Mitchell and her team were taking stock of the situation. The screens that had once displayed the chaos of battle now showed images of damaged cities and recovering landscapes. Despite the extensive damage, there was a sense of hope and renewal in the air. "We've accomplished something extraordinary," Mitchell said to her team. "But we need to focus on the next steps. Our planet has been through a lot, and we need to begin the process of recovery." The victory was not without its costs. Cities lay in ruins, infrastructure was damaged, and many lives had been lost. Yet the spirit of humanity was unwavering. People began to come together to help each other, sharing resources and rebuilding their communities. The sense of unity that had emerged during the war continued to drive the recovery efforts. In the wake of the conflict, the international community took swift action. Relief teams and engineers from around the world converged on the hardest-hit areas. They worked tirelessly to clear debris, restore essential services, and rebuild homes. The sense of urgency was matched only by the determination to heal and rebuild. "We've seen the best of humanity in these dark times," Mitchell said during a briefing. "Let's keep that spirit alive as we move forward." As the reconstruction efforts gained momentum, there was also a renewed focus on diplomacy and cooperation. The victory over the Xorvans had demonstrated the strength and resilience of humanity, but it had also highlighted the need for greater unity among the nations of Earth. Leaders from around the world began to discuss ways to prevent future conflicts and strengthen global alliances. One of the significant changes in the aftermath of the war was the establishment of a new international defense coalition. This coalition was designed to ensure that the planet would be better prepared for any future threats. It was a symbol of the lessons learned from the conflict and a commitment to protecting Earth from any potential dangers. "Our goal is to ensure that we are never caught off guard again," said one of the coalition leaders. "We need to build a stronger, more unified defense system." The technological advancements that had been developed during the war also played a crucial role in the recovery. The EMP weapons and energy shields that had proven so effective against the Xorvans were adapted for civilian use. They helped protect critical infrastructure and contributed to a sense of security as communities began to rebuild. The innovations were a reminder of the incredible progress humanity had made in the face of adversity. Amidst the rebuilding and recovery, there were moments of reflection and remembrance. Memorials were erected to honor those who had lost their lives in the conflict, and ceremonies were held to pay tribute to the bravery and sacrifice of soldiers and civilians alike. The war had left its mark on the world, but it had also forged a stronger and more resilient society. As the weeks turned into months, the signs of recovery became more evident. Cities were rebuilt, homes were restored, and a sense of normalcy began to return. The scars of war were still visible, but the spirit of hope and determination was even stronger. The conflict had brought out the best in humanity, and that newfound strength was being channeled into creating a better future. For General Mitchell and her team, the end of the war marked the beginning of a new chapter. They had led their people through a harrowing ordeal, and now they were focused on guiding the recovery and ensuring that the lessons learned from the conflict would not be forgotten. "We've made it through the darkest times," Mitchell said in her final address to her team. "Now it's time to look forward and build a future we can all be proud of." The aftermath of the war was a time of healing, rebuilding, and forging a new path. Earth had emerged victorious, but the true measure of success lay in the ability to move forward and create a world where the lessons of the past would lead to a brighter future. The new beginning was not just about rebuilding what had been lost, but about ensuring that humanity's strength and resilience would continue to guide them in the years to come.